Time for part 2 of the 4-part extravaganza of trying to be entertaining for the sake of, I don't fucking know, unicorns! That's a good reason, mate. The next story we have in our roster for is known as Teeny Tiny Twilight. Twilight Sparkle isn't known to put anything less than her all into magic development. Oh yeah. It's only natural she tried her best when Rarity asked her to make her an anti-wrinkling, revitalizing, de-aging spell to help smooth some stray laugh lines. Turns out her best is a little too good. Now it's up to Shining Armor and Cadence to take care of the little sister with an emphasis on the little. Assuming her royal Canterlot voice temper tantrum doesn't cause the crystal lamp to first that is. And so we begin the story. I hope you're all excited. Because I am. Under other circumstances, Twilight Sparkle will have reflected on which parts of the anti-wrinkling, revitalizing, de-aging spell needed a few tweaks or adjustments. For example, the injection of an additional 10 mega star rolls into the nomadic dose in order to increase longevity was rather excessive. Perhaps she had made a slight overestimation of her abilities by trying to cast 3 spells in time to increase the efficiency. Utilizing Crystal's natural magic focusing attributes without first stress testing its capacity may have been an understandable oversight. It might have been prudent to use a general incantation in the spell nexus as opposed to a rather specific word choice. Such was not the case, though. Rarity had begged her ascended friend to help smooth out a stray laugh line that had made its unwelcome home on her otherwise immaculate face. From there, the studious Alicorn had enthusiastically dedicated herself to perfecting a spell that would ease the passage of time's blemishes on the user. Even while visiting a brother and sister-in-law at the Crystal Castle, which was now 1 spire short, on account of the aforementioned focus on crystal, their experiments had continued with little pause. As such, she had increased the magic quotient by 10 times, had overlooked the inherent difficulty in balancing a multi-layered spell, had caused a crystal filled to the brim for all power to explode, and had used the term soft as a baby's bottom in her casting. Under other circumstances, Twilight Sparkle would have spent a considerable amount of time examining just what had went wrong. Right now, though, the tiny filly was only concerned with 2 things.
I want my Baba.
And
why is there no Baba in front of me?
Upon the entrance of a rather surprised-looking brother, Shiny and sorta sister Candy, a 3rd item was added to her itinerary.
Why have you not brought me my Baba?
Unsatisfied with the current situation, Twilight initiated deployment of the single greatest weapon in Baba acquirement. Shining Armor and Cadence could only watch in abject horror as the foal swallowed as much as the lungs could hold, opened her mouth, and began suckling from the proffered bottle and contents as she settled into the high chair. Twilight's victory had come at the cost of a constant ringing noise in Cadence's ears, something which Shining informed her was called shell shock and assured her shattered eardrums would pass. Maybe not for a time, but they would pass. Perhaps the ringing would, but the memory of a screeching Alicorn filly using the royal Canterlot voice was to be burned into a memory for millennia to come.
Was Twilight always that loud?
Cadence asked as she levitated broken shards of crystal-crafted furniture and deposited them into a wastebasket. You see, this is generally why you shouldn't have everything made out of fucking crystals. Imagine if any of the crystal ponies had been there. It wouldn't have been pretty. The coffee table, vanity, and chair had all fallen prey to the resonance frequency of Twilight's tantrum. She shuddered to think about what could have happened had the filly let loose in the presence of crystal ponies. A worry not alleviated, at least by a girl sitting nearby complaining of a splitting headache. See? Told her. To say it would be an embarrassment to send her rules first casually home in a dustpan would be a sore understatement. What? Shining Armor replied. With more bravery than his wife could ask for, he had fought through the sonic storm to deliver the bottle of milk Twilight was currently consuming. This had come at the cost of some, hopefully, temporary hearing loss, though. Cadence repeated the question, this time making sure he could see her mouth move and enunciating every syllable. Oh! Nah, Twilight was never really loud, and when she did get cranky, all we had to do was read her a book. Rubbing his forehead, Shining added, if I'd been able to hear myself think, I would have done that in the first place. A dainty kiss was delivered to the castle's savior.
Neither of us expected that. Besides, all things considered, I think you did a wonderful job.
Aw, thanks, honey. He nose her neck before glancing back at the feed in full. Still, I think we've got a bigger problem ahead of us. Or perhaps a smaller one. As if sensing the shift in attention to her, Twilight burped and banged the bottle on her tray.
Baba, done. Want more?
When she was back to blissfully sucking on a full bottle, husband and wife let out a collective breath. Okay, crisis averted again, Shining said. Were you able to figure out just what happened to her? Kings's horn lit up and she felt her way through the murky web of ley lines and nebula-like mana floating in the room, unseen and unfelt.
Well, I think it's safe to say she was casting that de-aging spell she was talking about last night at dinner.
And lunch and breakfast, Shining added.
Yes, but it was only at dinner that she had her epiphany. I've seen similar magic used by some of the unicorns that work at the spas. It's fairly short-lived, though. They're usually only used by the nobles when they go to a ball or something and want to look their best.
Her husband's smart. You seem to know a lot about it. You wouldn't happen to have... Wiping the look off of Shining's face was a wing, his wife replied,
I hope you weren't intending to finish that sentence with what I think you were.
Adopting the expression she'd taken from him, Cade's finished with, I'm all natural.
Comes being a mighty alicorn.
Oh, mighty alicorn, Shining intoned as he bowed in defense. Can your powers deduce the solution to my sibling's plight? A playful wing slap straightened about. Okay, if you insist on being serious.
Your sister has turned herself into a foal, dear. I think that's reason enough for us to be serious.
Really? Because you weren't being very serious just a few seconds ago, going on about how you don't need touch-up spells like us plebs. He ducked the third wing. Ha ha! Third time's the charm. Anyways, if those spells only last a bit, then all we have to do is wait it out, right? We were talking about having a full anyway, so Twilight's just sort of a practice run. For you listeners at home, if your sister or any family member is somehow to turn themselves into a child, I'm not sure how this could happen. Maybe, well, who knows? In this kind of world we live in, technology has done amazing things. If such a thing were to happen, don't treat them as a practice run for you and your respective mate. For childbirth and parenting. Don't. Now, perhaps this is just one narrator's opinion, and it very well may be, but I don't think it's the wisest idea to do. Or the most considerate. But perhaps I am wrong. And that is just one narrator's opinion. Kaden shook her head.
It's not that simple. Remember, this is Twilight we're talking about. There's types of mana I've never even seen before in what's left of the magic. Not to mention a lot of it. She could be like that for a few hours or a few weeks, maybe more. And besides, she tapped her twitching ears, do you really want to run the risk of needing hearing aids 50 years early? Good point. He replied with a grimace. So, what do we do then? Try to make a counterspell? Too dangerous. Celestia and Luna are both busy at the Griffin Clan Summit for the next few days. I would only trust them to know as much about magic as Twilight did. We'll have to wait until they return and take care of Twilight in the meantime. Ears falling, Shining said, I hate feeling so powerless. As much as I'm going to tease Twilight about this when she's back to normal, I still want to help her sooner rather than later. Cadence rubbed next with him. Oh, how sickeningly sweet. What I'm trying to get at is, it's like them kissing. Disgusting. Don't worry, we'll take care of her, and if you really need something to do, you can help me analyze the parts of her spell I was able to recover. I helped her study and share similar Alicorn magic, but you're her brother, and you can understand parts of her magic through your connection that I never could. She pecked him on the cheek. Oh, good, they're actually kissing now. We'll get through this together, don't you worry. I ever said that I don't deserve you? You're great enough mare for 5 stallions. Shining ran his hue through her mane. She laughed and held his face close for a proper kiss. When they parted, she quipped, good thing you're worth 10 stallions. Twilight, meanwhile, stuck her tongue out. Yuck! I'm with them! It's disturbing. The pair laughed as she averted her sight from the theater of affection. So, since you're good for 5 stallions and I'm worth 10, does that mean I get 2 of you? Shining whispered. He saw the wing come up, but let it swat his flank all the same. In your dreams, lover cult. I'm sure Luna will oblige. That's very disturbing to think about.
Cadence snorted as she bit back a laugh.
You're impossible. Come on, Twilight, let's find you something to play with. Yay! Yay!
I don't know what kind of voice to give Twilight. Don't judge me. The filly squealed as she was lifted out of the chair and onto her fellow alicorn's back. Long hallways whatever, from Crystal and Royal Guard snapping off salutes greeted them, to which Twilight returned by bonking her forehead with a goof. Clearly what I meant. I am reading perfectly tonight. With a hoof and giggling madly. Cadence mentally marked any stress lines that had appeared post-tantrum for later repair. In a few minutes, the trio had made their way to the castle's nursery. Rose-hued quartz formed the walls, while a thin layer of silica acted as a window, letting the unsoft rays filter into the room. It was empty of any other ponies, leaving all manners of building block and colourful plastic toys open for Twilight to claim as her own. She, of course, strode right past them and instead went to the bookshelf, pulling down the heavy Grimm's Fairy Tales. I'm sorry, Grimm's Fairy Tales tome, before dragging it over to a little table. You know, again, I'm just the narrator, so maybe I don't deserve an opinion of this, but perhaps not the best idea to let a little filly read what is the equivalent of Grimm's Fairy Tales. Now, this could just be me, and who knows, maybe it just is. But, you ever read that shit?
That shit be cray!
Oh well, continuing. Flipping it open with her snout, she plunked herself onto one of the tiny chairs, squinted her eyes, and began to read Cinderluna. Well, I suppose it's good to see the only change is her being a foal, Shiny commented as he watched his sister mouth the words in silence. Cadence sighed as she felt her heart melt at the sight. It really is adorable, isn't it? If I didn't know better, I wouldn't even imagine she's one of the most powerful magicians in the history of Equestria. Time passed as the couple watched the little sister flip through the pages. An occasional gasp or giggle would escape her as she read about Cinderluna's plight while trying to enjoy life as she cleaned the great castle her evil stepsisters lived in. About that, Shiny whispered as thoughts wandered back to what Cadence said earlier. Yes? Well, so far Twilight seems to be a foal in every way, and she drank 2 full bottles of milk some time ago, so... The sound of something dripping interrupted him, soon followed by... Oopsie. Tail switching as Cadence made her way over to Twilight, Cadence muttered, "You jinxed it. You fucked it up. Good job, you fucked it up!" Sorry, Shiny answered sheepishly. Sheepishly. I can clean up the puddle. His wife nodded. Thank you, honey. I'll give her a bath in the meantime, then we can decide on what to do next. She picked up Twilight. Come on, Twilight. Twilight, let's get you clean before you... splash me. A sopping wet Cadence crumbled as another wave of water washed over her. Candy have bath time, too. That's fucking adorable! It was difficult to say mad when a fool was having fun. Maybe for you. Well, I suppose it'll make a little difference now. Cadence said as she stepped into the lukewarm water that filled the tub, suds of soap floating in her wake. The filly cheered and slapped some more waves into existence as her hair water poured over it and combed. I don't know how to speak. 10 minutes and several splashballs later, the two stepped out from the tub. Cadence dried herself off for towel while Twilight did her best to puff out her coat by shaking vigorously, the net effect being Cadence having to wipe the second layer of water off afterwards. When the pair left the bathroom, they found shining armor waiting in the hallway for them. Enjoy your bath? He asked. Philly and Mare nodded, the former more enthusiastically than the latter. Candy, all clean now, Twilight exclaimed. Your sister decided I should join her, Cadence explained before motioning towards a pair of saddlebags slung over Shiny's back. What do you have there? Kneeling to let the strap slide down his neck and onto the floor, he replied, well, considering Twilight's little accident, I decided it would be best to find some supplies for her. Soup flies for me? Twilight chirped. What are those? Can I play with them? Shining chuckled. No, Twilight. Supplies. You'll find out what they are in a minute. Anyway, he said, turning his attention back to Cadence, one of the castle's maids lent me them. Oh, good. His wife nodded in understanding. Good idea. Let's go to her room and get you all dressed up, Twilight. Fucking words. The filly cocked her head. Just for what, Candy? Picking up his sister and putting her onto his back while carrying the saddlebags, Magic Shiny said, Bedtime. It's getting late and you've had well, let's say interesting day.
Not tired.
Twilight grunted as she crossed her forelegs, although she didn't attempt to scamper off. You may not feel tired, but you're being grumpy and that means you are tired. Besides, if you come to bed without making a fuss, I'll read you a story before sleep time. Twilight's brow furrowed, clearly in deep thought while weighing her options. In the end, book once again proved to be the greater force.
Okay, but it gotta be a long one.
How does the Little Mermaid sound? A cheer from Shining's back was answer enough as the trio started the short walk to the palace's nursery. Upon entering the room, though, it didn't take long for Twilight to realize that instead of heading to bed heralding story time, she was being put onto a cushioned table.
Story up here?
The saddlebags Shining had been carrying were placed down. In just a moment, we have to get you dressed for bed first. The flaps opened to reveal a set of purple onesies. Oh my god. A purple onesie speckled with stars. Twilight approved of this. What she did not approve of was a pack of diapers that followed them.
I'm a big filly. Big fillies don't need diapers.
She groused as the pouch formed. Now, Twilight, Kate began,
you've already had one accident today. I don't think you want to wake up in wet bed, do you? Look, it doesn't have a star pattern. I won't, 'cause I'm a big filly,
she postulated. She pushed away the undergarment when it started to float towards her.
Well, I'm sure you'll show how big you are when you wake up dry, but for now, let's just be safe.
The second attempt was once again intercepted. She held up the copy of The Little Mermaid he had taken from the shelf. Remember, Twilight, there won't be any books if you're not good.
No.
Husband and wife shared an exasperated look. Okay, how about when you wake up, I'll read you another story as well, Twilight. Caden said. Twilight tapped her chin.
2 book and waffle for brekkies.
Shining booped her sister on the nose. Deal.
Now will you let Candy put you on your diaper?
She grimaced, but not at all the same. The twice full sister first puffed some full powder onto Twilight's bottom, causing the filly to sneeze, followed by her tail being threaded through the hole in the back of the diaper. After that, the front was brought up and held snug against her stomach by side tapes. There, now let's just put your sleeper on and Shiny can read you your bedtime story. The onesie was opened up and put underneath Twilight, letting her slide her hooves into the sleeves. Once they were in, Cadence did up the zipper on the front.
There, that wasn't so bad now, was it?
Diaper's muffled crinkles filtered out from the cloth as Twilight kicked her legs around to feel the cloth. You know, I'm reminded of Enchanted Twilight. We're not referring to that ever again, though.
Still don't like.
She pointed out at the floating book.
Story time now.
Shining smiled, he brought Twilight over to the bed and tucked her into the blanket before taking a seat on the pillow at her bedside. You don't want to waste any time, do you, Twilight? He turned to look at Cadence. Mind helping me read the story to our little sister, honey? I think I could use a male's touch when it comes to Harriel. Motherfucker, that's a name. Okay. Cadence sashayed over, and with delicate deliberation, thrust Shining off of his pillow. Of course, dearest. Hey, I was using that, he said, mustering a her expression. I have claimed it in the name of the Crystal Empire. A princess could hardly sit on a tushy without a cushy, after all, she proudly declared as Twilight broke into a fit at laughter at tushy. Really, I would have thought all those royal puddings you've been enjoying would have provided ample seating arrangements that travel with you. Burn! Not even the playful bite on his ear stopped Shining's chortling. I have chortles. More verbal hoof-to-cuffs were thrown, Twilight's amusement weakening with each playful jab until she finally shouted, Book time! The two warring marital factions looked at the filly's crossed hooves, puffed cheeks, and pucking pout. Well, I don't think we can keep something that adorable waiting, now can we? Caden said as she cooed at the pouting purple pony. God damn alliterations! Yeah, almost wish she hadn't Shining was interrupted by a brilliant burst of light and sound that flowed forth from Twilight. After his eardrums had recovered from sound beating of the day and the spots in front of his eyes faded away, he looked at the bed to find his goddess sister in all her splendor. Or at least as much splendor as one could achieve whilst wearing tattered pieces of sleeper and a diaper stretched to its breaking limit. Twilight? The eloquent said, Yes, I'm fine. Cadence, now having recovered herself, asked, Do you remember? Yes, I do. Thanks for taking care of me. Shining raised his hoof and slowly lowered it. Finally he said, Well, now, just read me the damn book. I've got nothing! Like, literally, what can I say about that? I've got nothing. Till next time, everybody!